Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Auras BTH. This is the 2021 political edition. It's so great to see everyone, and it's been a while since we last spoke and hang out. And today I got the great pleasure to invite Drexel Heard, who is the executive director for the Los Angeles Democratic Party. So maybe you have 1,000 questions, maybe you have one, maybe you have none. But we're going to talk about Californian politics. What are the actual job of an executive director for the Democratic Party here in Los Angeles does? You know, what delegates do. And of course, we're going to talk about the recall. So I'm waiting for Drexel to join me on Instagram. And as soon as he does, we can start this conversation. But first, I want to ask you guys, where are you tuning in from? So please, on the chat, post all your questions on the chat. You guys know that we love I love the comments. This conversation is not just for me, but it's for us to have. So feel free to join me here. And Drexel, I am with, okay, let me see, maybe he cannot hear me. So hello and welcome. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me. It's always good to see you. I do want to start by reminding folks that you represent 8050 to the California Democratic Party as their e-board rep. So congratulations again. I know I texted you probably shortly after that.
Yes.
And welcoming you to our central committee here in Los Angeles as well. So congratulations again.
Thank you so much. And I am waiting for you to join me on Instagram.
Yeah, how do I listen? I'm technology, deficient sometimes.
No, so go on my profile and in the little scroll, you're gonna see me going live. And just when you come in here, we will be all, when you watch my live stream on Instagram, there you go. I can bring you in.
I'm on.
Here we are. Okay, let's get you in here. Okay, so there you go. You just got to answer my request.
Go live. They do make it easy, don't they? Oh, look at that.
There we go. There we go. And no echo, which is a miracle. All right, everyone. Here is Drexel Heard II. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so grateful for you taking for your time and for just speaking with me. I am, as you shared earlier, I am a delegate for the Democratic Party, and I was elected by the members or the voters of District 50, which encompasses so many places, including Santa Monica, some places in the Valley, some places in West Hollywood, some places of Central LA, which is where I live in Mid-City. Let's see what else. Topanga, my friends in Topanga. So I represent a variety of people, all Democrats, and it's such a great honor to have you and to also represent AD50 District, Assembly District number 50.
Well, it is good to be here. And like I said on StreamYard, I'll say it again here. Congratulations again. AD50 is so huge. And we'll see what happens through redistricting over the next few months and how our districts are going to change. I live in AD46, and we're constantly talking about like what the lines are going to look like over the next few months. And so with the new census data that just came out last week, we're starting to see the numbers, how they're going to shake out. So it's going to be really interesting how that's going to change California politics, not just California politics, but LA politics because of our size. And I would be remiss if I did not shout out Otto Briceño, who is the chair of Orange County, who is in the room right now, our great chair, and Sidney Brown, who is the Trojan Democrats president over at USC. Hello, it is good to see you both here as well.
So, for some of the people in my audience, I reach a big variety of people. I have many different talents, and I'm a very big environmentalist. And of course, social justice, immigrants. I'm from Colombia, so I'm definitely very involved on that. But a lot of the people in my community, until I ran for delegate, didn't even know. I mean, we have heard of the delegates in the big stages of the national politics, especially around presidential elections. But we didn't know that they were elected delegates and appointed delegates in our district. So you are the executive director of the Los Angeles Democratic party, our area, like what we call the central committee, for people that are just joining me and don't know anything about this stuff. What are your roles and your duties, and how did you get there?
Well, that's a good question. Sometimes in politics, as I'm sure my other colleagues will tell you, things are ever changing and you never know what is going to happen next. When I took this job in 2019, I wasn't expecting a pandemic on the other side of that. We were going out of 2019 into the March 3rd primary. So we were focused on my transition into this role. And then, March 3rd hit, we had the primary, and then we went straight into a pandemic 2 weeks later. So that changed the trajectory of how, we looked at how we were going to manage a party that oversees 3 million people. Los Angeles is the largest county in the nation with 10 million people and 3 million Democrats.
Wow.
So that makes our central committee and certainly our party the largest in the state and then the largest in the nation. LA Central Committee has almost 600 members, which sounds insane. And imagine operationally how it is to manage a lot of those people. We have 24 assembly districts here in Los Angeles, of which 8050 is one of them. And so, all of our delegates come from one of those assembly districts. We're broken up by assembly districts where some central committees could be broken up by supervisor districts or anything like that. But for the most part, most everybody kind of runs on assembly districts here. And there is a difference between the state party delegates, of which you are on that e-board, and the county party delegates, which are on the local ballot here in Los Angeles County. In your role as e-board, you just so happen to have, based on our bylaws, an ex officio role in our central committee representing your district.
Absolutely, and I'm coming on so hot, guys, to the next meeting that is happening on August 25th.
It's gonna be in September, but yes. Oh wait, you got e-board.
So you got e-board.
I'm sorry, e-board is August 25th. Yeah. For the state party, and then we have our next central committee meeting here in September.
There you go. So be ready with your questions. I know that people always message me privately and said, "Can you talk to the Democratic Party about this? Can you remind them about that?" So send it all to me. This is my role. This is what I was elected to do, to represent you. So I am always so grateful for everybody's suggestions because they're amazing. And, as an organizer myself, I truly believe that a lot of the issues in our communities, of course, a lot of the answers also lie on our communities. So I'm always very open to hear from everyone that comes, with suggestions for, before, ahead of these meetings. But let's talk about California.
Yep.
Because we just went through one of the most life-changing events of our generation and other generations. This pandemic. This is something that my parents didn't went through when they were growing up or when they were young. Certainly, I'm barely going through it. And
we're still trying to make it through.
Exactly. We're still trying to figure this out. Please wear your mask and all that. Whatever differences you have, just be safe and think about others, because it's not just about you. But I wanted to invite you to talk about the current states of politics and how was this recall born? Because right now in September 14th, and you all probably have a ballot in the mail because everybody's getting a ballot if you are registered to vote. And this is time to vote. So tell me how this came about.
So, I think if you remember, the pandemic, every state went through something a little bit different. We have 39 million people here in California and a lot of businesses. I look at Orange County, for example, where Ada is, and how different the politics are there. And her and her staff are doing great work, flipping a lot of seats blue. But there are still counties and city councils who are uninterested in keeping people as safe as they should be. So the governor has made it very clear that California will lead through this pandemic, and he did from day one. But that irked a lot of folks, of course. It was a lot of shutdown. There's a lot of economic impact, a lot of restaurants. We have a lot of friends who own restaurants. We have a lot of folks who are servers and retail workers and those on the front lines, and it impacted everybody very differently. But the one thing that it did impact was the wallet and the families. And so, or your friend circles, and how that affected us emotionally, and how that
Mhm.
affected us in how to survive through this. It wasn't just surviving am I going to stay safe? Am I going to be healthy? It was, how do I survive when I don't have the income to pay my rent, to pay my bills, to make sure that my kids are okay, to make sure that my friends are okay? Are you borrowing money? There's a lot of decisions that had to go into that. Is my business going to close? And I think a
Right.
lot of this frustration was born out of course, everybody wants to blame French Laundry when the governor went to French Laundry, that infamous photo a few months ago. But
At the
I think
restaurant
at
for
the
those that,
restaurant,
yeah.
but the reality is, it's much more. That was a piece of the frustration. That was like, oh well, why does he get to do that if the rest of us can't? But
Right.
we had already reached the peak of frustration because everybody had been cooped up since March. And by that point it was like mid summertime, and there was a lot going on, or sometime in the fall, and we were still going through it. And so nobody knew if we were going to come out of that and what that was going to look like. We were still going through the Trump administration at the time. The president was out there saying, inject yourself with bleach and all of these different things. And on the campaign trail, you had, then President Biden, certainly then Senator Harris, out there saying we need to be focused on how we get people back to work, how we get vaccines distributed, and what that's going to look like. At the same time, here in California, the governor was still working with counties. I think that one thing that people forget, especially here in LA County, is that the power rests solely with the 5 supervisors in the county. They have the job of making sure that the public health of Los Angeles County is their top priority. And then
Mhm.
what happens in our 88 municipalities is that those decisions come down and trickle down into the 88 municipalities that are encompassed in the county. And so then you start to see places like West Hollywood and Santa Monica and San Fernando Valley and Pasadena and all of these smaller cities making decisions based on what the county is saying, and based on the guidelines,
Yeah.
and making those decisions. And so the governor certainly has allowed counties to make certain decisions for them. There's a lot of counties, like I said, in other redder areas of our state that have made decisions that were not in the best interest of their people, and in places like Huntington Beach, where you got folks running amok. And certainly in a lot of places like Orange County, where it is a little bit red. Kevin McCarthy, the congressman, the minority leader, is out there saying things about his district, even though Republicans know what they're supposed to do, which is why they're out there right now talking about vaccines, because their people are the ones being hit the hardest.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you lose voters, and that's what they don't want to do. So that's kind of where we are right now. And then coming out of that, the governor created that comeback plan, the California comeback plan. We saw it. California's roaring back. How do we get economic development back? How do we get people back to work? How do we make sure that we're pumping money? It almost felt like a little UBI, a little bit of universal basic income, to get people back into their home, to get people back on their feet, make sure that our schools are going to reopen safely, make sure that restaurants are going to reopen safely, make sure that jobs we're going to get back to work. I've been in the office here in LA for months, because we have a kind of a small staff. So we've been trying to make sure that we're running the party as best we can, and supporting the governor and supporting our county supervisors and all of our 88 municipalities as well, and making sure that the folks know that we are working towards the goal of getting people back to work and getting things back on track. But we can't do that if you've got folks out there who are unwilling to do what they need to do on behalf of their communities, making sure they're getting vaccinated, making sure they're wearing their masks, and doing all of that.
And this is why it's so important for people to understand the difference in body structures and government, because there are so many people blaming, and I see it in my own community, so many people blaming Governor Newsom, when there is the municipalities, the counties, and the cities that also were responsible for the response to COVID that we had. And I just can't think about a better way to respond to what happened throughout the pandemic, which is an event of a lifetime, where we didn't have a lot of experience. Not even Dr. Fauci had a lot of experience with this, before. So we all were going through uncharted territories. To me, it just feels that it's a right wing, Republican power grab strategy to get us redirect it and derail from the real goal, which is we need to get back to our feet. We need to recover, like our economy needs to recover. We need to make sure that people are getting back to work, and we need to come back to fight climate change, fight poverty, enough with like racism, figuring out what we're going to do with a better structure of policing in our communities, all these things that need funding, that need attention, and not this recall. So I'm so excited to talk to you about this because there's so many people, and for those of you that venture on next door, I have my fair share of posts there, telling people to vote and to vote no on the recall. But there is also so much misinformation about it. And I'd like to ask you about the two questions that are going to come in the ballot. And I don't know if you know why the two questions. Why not just do we recall or not?
So so on the first question is, I just actually filled out my ballot last night, got it in the mail yesterday. And so, the first question is, would you like to recall Governor Newsom? And it's a yes or no question. If it gets to the second question, voters have to have an option. We have to provide voters an option. The only option that is not on there, however, is the option of Governor Newsom again.
I know. Why is that?
So, because that's the state law. And so he is not an option, because at this point, the voters, and I'll put a pin in that for a second, but like the voters would have already made a decision that he is to be recalled. So he cannot be an option on the ballot. And so for those that don't know, it's a 50+1 on the first question. So if we are pushing a no on that first question, but hypothetically, like it happened to us in 2003, voters recalled Governor Davis. A lot of folks probably don't remember that, but that's how California got Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because 50+1 Californians voted to recall Governor Davis. And then at that point, Arnold Schwarzenegger only got about just less than 30% of the vote. And I think that's the scary thing that people have to remember, is that you can have a Larry Elder, who is the leading Republican candidate right now, who basically is like Trump light here in California.
Climate denier.
Climate denier, out there telling folks that he's going to roll back the mask mandate and roll back the vaccine mandate. What is pushing our economic stability forward over the next few months. He's willing to roll that back. And but you could get somebody like a Larry Elder in there with just 26% of the vote, or just 20% of the vote, whatever the highest number is. It could be anybody,
exactly.
somebody a little insane, and that's not the direction of California. So what we've been saying, not only from the party side, not only from the state party, and certainly from the governor's team, is you vote no on the first question, and then you leave the second question blank, because we outpace Republicans 3-1 here in the state of California.
And we need to all get out and vote. That's just the bottom line. Everyone, your mothers, everybody needs to go, and your ex-boyfriends too. Everyone needs to vote.
You return that ballot. It's easy. We have made it. This is the thing, and you know as well as I do. We have made it so easy here in the state of California to vote. You literally get a ballot in the mail. It's prepaid postage. All you have to do is slip it back in the mailbox. It's always so baffling to me when people are like, "Oh, I don't want to know. I don't have time." Literally, there's only 2 questions, and all we're asking you to do is vote on one, lick the envelope, sign your name, stick it back in your mailbox, send it out. And we have so many ballot boxes around not only our county here in LA, but across the state as well. You could slip it into your nearest ballot box, or you can vote on the day. We have an 11-day voting period here in LA County, which starts September 4th. You could go to your nearest vote center and vote then. I think that, one of the things that people have to remember about this recall, is what's at stake in the recall. It is not just about the governor. It is about the future of the state of California. Because what happens is hypothetically a recall succeeds. Just like you said, it is going to set off a chain reaction of recalls, not only across our county, but across our state, because that is going to be the Republican playbook.
And it's going to send a huge message to the rest of the country.
Across the country. Because that will be the playbook, because Republicans only know how to win one way, and it is never at the ballot box. You see what's happening in Texas right now. where they're breaking quorum just to prevent them from rolling back voting rights in the state of Texas. And so if Republicans are successful in that, they will use that playbook every chance that they get.
Incredible. And this is why you're so sharp. And this is why I wanted to invite you to talk about these things, because some other factors besides sending a national message that, hey, if we take on, California, we can keep it going. And this is not where we headed. This is not where we need to head. In fact, we just got elected Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and if there is a sense of normality and stability that is in the air that you don't want to lose. But another thing that I want to talk about is in the power of the governor also lies appointments.
Correct.
He can appoint senators. He can appoint a lot of people in the event that they're not there. Maybe they move on. Maybe they pass. Things happen every day in life. And we have our oldest member of Congress is Dianne Feinstein. So another piece of this, for those of you that get exoteric about this stuff in politics, is that if, God forbid, Dianne Feinstein retires, she's older, she's been there for a very long time, or something happens to her, or who knows? If we get a Republican governor, what is the best picture of that situation for you, Drexel?
Well, I don't think there would be a best picture. That's
Right.
the first part about that.
Right.
Because you're right, Senator Feinstein, Senator Feinstein retires in the next over the next couple of years. We lose the Senate majority. That's the ball game. Right now, as you saw in the last couple of weeks, we just passed an infrastructure bill that's headed to the House, a massive $3 trillion infrastructure bill that's now going to go to the House, and then it's going to go back to conference. And then they're going to have to come back and do it all over again. But also we have a budget that they are looking to pass as well. So all of the progress and all the work. And then we've got voting rights. That should be the first priority right after infrastructure and right after the budget. Is making sure that we're securing voting rights for the rest of the country. And so I think that, September 14th rolls around, something happens hypothetically to either one of our senators, to anybody, and lose that Senate majority. You can kiss goodbye everything, and because it will shape the midterms in 2022. Because there are a lot of U.S. senators on the Republican side that are up for re-election, and there are a lot of our Congress people up for re-election again. And so, that is what is at stake. So that is why we are pushing really hard, because, like I said, it doesn't just affect the governor. It affects everything that we have worked so hard to do over these last few weeks. The president's juggling not only the pandemic, but as you saw, everything that's happening in Afghanistan over these past couple of days, an infrastructure package and selling that to the American people, a budget and selling that to the American people, and then still fighting every day for voting rights in this country. And here in Los Angeles, we're doing that same thing, working with the registrar's office to make sure that everybody has a secure right to vote. Is what we talk about. We've got 2 huge races here next year. We've got a mayor's race. We've got a bunch of city council races.
City councils.
But we also have a seat to win in CA 25 and to flip Mike Garcia. It's our only Republican seat. So we've got a lot of work to do. And we can't. And what Republicans want us to do is be distracted by this recall. So they have just divided our time. And so what we want to remind them of is that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
Absolutely. And that we know better. So we need to vote no in the question number 1, where it's asking you about the recall, and just leave the second question blank, because we know that we are outnumbering Republicans in this state. We just got to get out there and do it. Yeah. So whether you sign your ballot and just drop it off on the mail, or whether you give it yourself to the mail man or woman, or the mail person, and or whether you go and vote in that 11th period. Now you might be wondering, like, what elections? I have not gotten any ballots. Like, what?
It's on the way. Trust
there are people out there. There are people out there asking. But if you have not voted or are registered to vote in the state of California, hey, friends, I have a lot of followers of all colors. No shame on that. You can register to vote today. You have until August 30th. It's about over 10 days to register to vote. You can do it online.
Go to iwillvote.com. It's easy.
There you go.
Sign up there.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think here, if you saw the numbers the other day, the census numbers, we gained in the party about 40 million. I'm sorry, 40,000 new Democrats here in the state of California. The California GOP lost 40,000 voters, and so we know the direction that California is going in. We just got to make sure that we know our values and we know what's at stake every day, and why this recall is so important, so we can continue to get back on track and with the governor's comeback plan, and making sure that we're putting money back in the folks' pockets. I was just at a restaurant in Santa Monica the other day. They were keeping those restaurants open. It was good to see everybody in those restaurants that had been closed. I talked to one of the servers. He said to me, 14 months was a long time. And we know that had an impact on all of those families. And so, we're seeing it every day in our friends. And so that is what is going to be at stake. And that is what is at stake, not only here in California, but across the country.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I personally am hosting a bilingual phone bank on Thursday with the Grassroots Democrats HQ. I love them. So we want to host.
Shout out to Tamara and Melissa Grant over at Grassroots Dem HQ, because they do incredible work. They're one of our strongest HQs here in Los Angeles County, and we could not continue to do the work that we do and reach as many people as we do without their work.
Absolutely. I love Tamara too. I told her, let me know what I can do. So on Thursday, I'm hosting a bilingual phone bank where people that speak Spanish, because I'm quite concerned that Latinos or just people that speak Spanish are not being reached out to or don't know that this is happening. And, we culturally, we do so much better when somebody from our own community is speaking about these issues and sharing what's at stake, and also encouraging people to vote. There's lots of us here at the state of California. And earlier you mentioned very briefly the redistricting and the gerrymandering of different, all over California, basically, and how that's going to really shape the party and also just our politics in general. Like, we might gain some folks, we might lose some other, we might gain some districts, we might lose, but we need to be united on this and these recall efforts that are nonsense and are a waste of your and my tax money.
Yeah, it's a waste of our time. It's a waste of our brain power, and voter fatigue is real. I don't think that's another piece of that, right? So, we do this, we go through a recall, and then the governor goes right back into re-election mode because he is on the ballot next year.
Yeah.
And so this is why it was a waste of our time. It's like Republicans had the opportunity to fight over the next few months for their candidate in 2022. But what they chose was a mechanism by which to thwart the will of the voters early, confuse people, and throw our state into chaos.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to upload this video to all of the social media handles out there so that you can also share it. I see you around when COVID permits. But thank you so much for your leadership, and thank you so much for all of this information that you had shared with us today.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to being back anytime that you ask me to answer as many questions as I can. And like I said, we'll see you hopefully at the next Central Committee meeting. Enjoy your first e-board meeting. I remember when I joined my first e-board meeting and what that was like. What I'll tell you, like I tell everybody else, being a delegate is what you make of it. I know you are going to do whatever you can for your district. And so continue to do the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Drexel. We'll see you soon.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. So that was Drexel Heard from the Los Angeles Democratic Party. And he's the executive director of the party. And he just gave us some really amazing facts. If you have not registered to vote, please do so at vote.org. Super easy. Go ahead and do it. You have until August 30th. If you have not gotten your ballot, no worries. You can also go to vote.org and find out if your ballot is coming or where it is. And as soon as you get your ballot, super simple. Number one, vote no on the recall question. 2, you don't have to choose who's going to replace anyone because we're not replacing anyone right now. Number 3, don't forget to sign today and to send it in the mail. You can also vote in person on an 11-day window starting September 2nd and more. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful Monday, and I see you very soon. Bye-bye.